Diane? I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. This is Art, and once again, we are going to be diving into a little bit of Hostile Solo. That's the current solo RPG that we're working on. That means we're down to Matt. Matt couldn't be here tonight because he was cast as Lea Michele's understudy in the Broadway revival of the musical Chess. I like the Cold War. I like a single night in Bangkok where the world could be my oyster, but I was not asked. So, you know what? No, I'm not taking this away from Matt. He's the only person that shows up at the dance studio before I do every day, 5 a.m., works his ass off. You know what? He's earned this. So, Matt, good luck. Break a leg. Break Lea Michele's leg, if you know what I mean. And hopefully we'll get everybody back on the mic pretty soon. But in the meantime, we are going to be doing some more Hostile Solo. Now, if you remember the last session, it was probably an overly long... I tend to do that. Spotlight session between Adea and JM. Adea is the ship's engineer. JM is I think I have that right. JM is the pilot. He's, errs on the side of caution. And basically, Adea freaked out a little bit, having experienced, a dead-in-the-water shuttle. And you know what? I actually started writing this out. Let me bring it up here. And so we started... I probably spent too much time, but what it did is, in my mind, is it developed a few storylines. JM went behind Adea's back. He was conflicted about it, but he went behind Adea's back to Doc Brown and said, just keep an eye on her. Adea had a bad Nepo baby experience on a previous mission that got people killed. So she's got a subconscious mistrust of Tom as a captain, and Tom's insecure about his command. And Tom and May have had a previous sexual relationship. So those are sort of the storylines that... Whoops, I keep closing that. I don't mean to. Those are sort of some of the storylines that are starting to develop. And so from that perspective, I'm kind of glad that I spent the time on it. Probably didn't need to be that much time, but I'm glad I spent the time. So what we're doing now is we've traveled out from Hamilton Station. We'll bring up the near-Earth zone. We traveled out from Hamilton Station to the jump point. We had our random encounter en route. Let me get the checklist in. So we did a star point encounter. If you remember, our security officer, May, broke somebody's shoulder. I probably should write that down in a storyline. Dislocated a shoulder on somebody on the station who confused Doc Brown for somebody else. Or did he? And so we've traveled to the hyperspace point. It took 3 or 4 days. I forget exactly what. We had our star system encounter, which was the dead-in-the-water shuttle. I decided to stick a spotlight moment in here. Now the crew enters hypersleep. So, again, we're trying to get from New Hamilton to New Concession Zone. And what that means is we have to go by way of either ＡCTUAL or Fomalhaut. So what I'm going to do is, so if we go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each one is 1 parsec. So that's 5 parsecs. Then we go to, it doesn't really matter. Say we go over 1 to Fomalhaut, and then we go down 5. That'll accomplish the same thing. Let's activate this. I don't know why all these aren't in there. So then, and then we, have to, I don't know. It doesn't matter. The important thing is it ends up being about a 9 parsec. I think I calculated through Capella. So yeah, we're just gonna, so you come down here, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, cut over to New Concessions. Maybe I miscalculated this. Then we're at New Concessions. Go up 8. Let's call it like 5 weeks. Because our ship does 2 parsecs per week. It's about 10-ish parsecs to get to 0302, where the derelict ship Lady Luck is currently located. The ship was running between Serpentine and Congress, or back and forth. Serpentine is a desert world. And so we said, it's not literally spice, but there's sort of like a mineral. There's something, a natural resource there that is needed on Congress, which is a garden world, a little bit bigger, a little bit more developed. So yeah, we're going to go through the checklist now in Hypersleep, you have to check for hyperspace dropout. Roll 2d6, and on a 2, drop out of hyperspace, deal with any problems that might have occurred. So yeah, let's give that a shot. Okay, we roll a 7. Nothing to worry about there. Exit hyperspace. Crew emerge from hypersleep. Endurance roll +4 to avoid a day of sickness. Now the question is, I think the idea is that you roll it for each person, because some people might be able to handle it better than others. I have to admit that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sick bay because I know I've got everybody here. Let's see, Doc Brown, endurance, not great. Be kind of unfortunate if our doctor failed. I don't think that's correct. Oh, no, that is correct. I'm sorry, because yeah, it's a 8 or better. She gets a -1 to a roll because it's so bad. So she might have actually passed. So Doc Brown, I'm going to jot that down. Let's see. We got Brown is going to experience a day of sickness. How about, I'm going to say Dell does not. Dell is, if you remember, an android, not going to be a problem. Now, JM obviously has a great, and barely makes it. Okay, so he's good. Olivia, solid endurance, but not going to make it. So let's see, Olivia. Tom, the captain. Doesn't make it, but here's what I'm going to do. Tom, the captain, does not make it. Tom, the captain, though, is insecure about his command. He's going to try and fake it, and I think that's going to potentially cause problems. Somehow let me jot down that he's going to fake it. So what he'll probably do is he'll probably try and avoid Doc Brown as best as possible and push through in a way that's maybe a little dangerous. Okay, we've got May. Also didn't make it. All right. Okay, so half the crew is down with the sick. So what that means is, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. The computer automatically revives the crew with an endurance check of 4. With a DM modifier of +4. So let me bring this back in just so you can see. I forgot the modifier. So given that, I don't think we have any effects that were greater than 4. So I think everybody's going to be okay. Kind of liked it better when people are walking around sick. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep Tom. Technically speaking, he didn't fail, but I like the idea of him kind of being a little bit of a wuss and trying to push through in a way that everybody's like, okay. Okay, so we've done that. So now the next thing we do is we have to start heading toward the rendezvous point. Now, the rendezvous point, again, is going to be here in deep space in 0302. In 0302, let me bring up the full star map. There's nothing in particular that's here. It's just sort of empty space, except for this derelict ship. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the checklist, bring that back in. Exited hyperspace, crew emerged from hypersleep, roll blah, blah, blah. Travel from hyperspace point to main world colony. We're not doing that. But we are traveling to sort of like this. Hey, let's say we enter into the area, into this particular parsec, and immediately we're getting the bleep 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 bleep, like the beacon from Lady Luck. We've got like the beacon of Lady Luck that is required to be turned on. Question is this: is there like an SOS attached to it, or is it just blah bleep blah bleep? What I'm going to say is on a 1 through 4, there's an SOS, but I'm going to give a little bit of a chance. 4. Okay, so we're getting in the SOS message. So immediately, we go into Space's orbit. That's not going to work. And yeah, we hear tiny ship out there. This is Lady Luck. We have experience, and we could request assistance. So we're not quite sure what's happened to them. Now, when you come out of hyperspace, you're able to just go toward wherever you want to go without burning, except for a couple things. What we're going to do is, what we have to do is we have to determine the distance, and we're going to just do a pilot check, nothing crazy, just to see if there's some reason why we have to adjust. So we're going to go to page 88 in the solo rules. So we're going from a hyperspace point to or from main world. We're not necessarily going to or from the main world. Are we going to, though, inner zone or outer zone of the star system? And I think it's going to be a 50-50 chance. They were transiting through this star system, so could be either way, right? 50-50 chance, 1 through 3 near. 6, so it's far. So what we need to do is we need to do 1d6 times 1d6 times 100. So let me see how if that's possible to do. 1d6 times 1d6 times, let's see if that's the right formula. Yeah, there you go. So we have to go 1,800 million kilometers. So first things first, we're going to need to spend a burn, 4 burn to slow down when we get there. We need to go 1,800 million kilometers. I know that's not how it's going to be actually said, but we go 30 per day. So this might take 2 months to get out there. Let me just confirm that with a calculator. Yeah, it's going to take 60 days to get out there. So let's mosquito. I think I got him though. Okay. We entered hyperspace to the new concession zone. Okay, that was January 24th. 10 weeks later, we arrive at new concession zone. Okay, so let's add that to it. So 10 weeks would be, say, around April 1st. We'll call it April 2, 2225. Arrived in 0302 new concession zone. Picked up distress signal in outer system. 1800 MKM away. 60 days to travel. Okay, so there we go. So we got the basics down. This is part of why, like, I mean, this is true of any sci-fi game, like just the scope. You know, it's going to take 2 months just to get over to there. And I don't know. Something about like a hex crawl just doesn't feel the same when you're on land in a fantasy world. So, okay. So it's going to take 60 days to travel. Let me pop this back out. Once we get out there, we're going to burn. We've already calculated for that. So now let's do a pilot roll. Let me see if there... I just wish there was a way. I thought there was. Crew. Is there a way to do it here? I don't know. Or is this just where you write down JM? Anyway. We're going to bring up JM. We're going to give him a pilot roll. Pretty good at this. There you go. Okay. So he's got a sum effect of 2. So let's just double check to see if that matters. Now, if you remember, if you go to page 49, let's see if it's hardware resolution. +2 is a yes, simple yes. Now, technically speaking, you could argue this might be a fairly easy task. You know, he's just sort of pointing in a direction and going. So then you would be an effect of 4. And if it was an effect of 4, it'd be yes and with an extra positive twist. So let's figure that out. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to shave some of that time off. That's what he accomplished by being awesome. So we've got 60 days. And we're going to do 1d4 times 2 to see how many days he shaves off. Okay, 6. 6 days. That's pretty good. So let me adjust the mission log. $54 days to travel. It's still not nothing, but a little bit better. Okay. So we've exited Hyperspace. The crew emerged from hypersleep. Oops, I keep doing that. How long would this take? Okay, now we do a star system encounter. I might do 2 star system encounters, given the amount of time that's going to go. So let me bring up encounter table, star system encounter. I assume it's a space encounter. It's a ship encounter if a main world has an A or a B class starport. It does not have either, so there is no random encounter in this particular case. So now what we're going to do is we are going to do a spotlight, but I promise I won't spend as much time. So let's figure out who we're going to do it. We're going to roll a random crew member. We've got the navigator, Olivia Rubio. Let's bring her up. What's her deal? Psych evaluation, comically pessimistic and paranoid. She's lifelong friends with the pilot, but blames... but the pilot blames her for a past event. Okay. So now let's bring up... Oops, I closed it out. Let's bring up the... inspiration tables. I'm going to grab 2 rolls just to do it. And we've got decompression, blackout, covering, dominate, coordinate, motherhood, hardened. I also got engineering, drone, horizon, struggling, change, duty, angry. Okay, so she's comically pessimistic. She's lifelong friends with JM. Let's say she gets into an argument with someone. Now, there's rules for that. It's a reaction table. So let's say she has a reaction with someone. She loses her temper. Perfect. Situation has gotten to the character who vents their anger at everyone around them. This is different to an argument. Everyone gets it this time. Okay, what triggered this bout of bad temper depends on the current situation. Okay. Let's pick another random crew member. Who she lose her shit on? She loses at JM. Okay. Okay. So, all right. She's the navigator. So, JM rolled an awesome pilot skill. He shaved some time off. And I think what actually happened was Olivia is the navigator, and she's like, okay, JM, we're going to go 5x5 down the pipe along this bum. And he's like, no, I think there's like some kind of gravity well or something. We might be able to slingshot a little bit to shave some time off, I think. And the outbreak is, she's like, you know, why don't you stay in your lane and let me navigate? And Tom, let's go to the bridge. Okay. So we've got Tom and Olivia and JM. So they're all here doing their thing. Everybody else is sort of just, you know, coming out of hyperspace, doing their checklist, making sure everything's good to go. You know, Doc Brown is sort of monitoring, you know, health badges to make sure everybody's basic vitals are 5x5. They seem to be going well. You know, but JM's here and he's like, look, Olivia, I think I've been in this kind of situation. You know, I'm sensing, you know, you're getting a reading on there. I think this is what it means. I think we can use it to our advantage. Olivia's like, look, I'm the navigator. I'm the expert. I know you're the pilot, but, you know, please, like, trust my course and let's go for it. And Tom's sort of hanging around in the background, and he's half dead from the hyperspace sickness and only half paying attention. And finally, you know, JM, better safe than sorry, I don't want to say he's literally going over Olivia's head, but he's like, he's going, Mom, you know, he turns to the captain, like, Captain, you know, like, do you want to weigh in on this? Sort of like refusing to give into Olivia's position or rank on the ship and sort of calling in reinforcements by kind of going above her head. And Tom, of course, is just like feeling like shit. Does he even know what's going on? 1 through 4, no. 5, 6, yes. Is that a 5? Yeah. Okay. So he's sort of sitting there listening. He's like, look, JM, are you telling me we can shave some time off of this? And he's like, yes. And he's like, okay, do it. And so JM, it's not personal, you know, so it's not like he gives a smirk over to Olivia, but inside, and maybe he, you know, he doesn't want to admit that he's doing this out of spite or pettiness based on the past event, but he didn't hesitate as much to pursue this line because it's Olivia. And like, he knows they go way back, but he just can't shake. It's maybe one of the few things he can't shake in his like steady errs on the side of caution. Like, for some reason, this thing, it's just like, it's buried in there deep, but he can just still feel it. So Olivia, you know, sort of looks like, you know, staring daggers at Jam, which does he notice? 50-50. 1 through 3, yes. He does. He gets it. And you know what? He doesn't care. Like, yeah, fine. That's fine. I'm right deep down, and you don't want to give in to this, and maybe this is part of the thing he doesn't forgive her for. Let's roll that up. Inspiration tables. Let's see if we can get a little detail on what. Again, draw 2 results. As always, I've got Iron Sworn at the ready, but I don't want to use it. I really want to focus on this. We've got quarter, byproduct, deep, resentful, strength and survival, kind, alone, family, contamination, reduce, balance, successful. Resentful. We're going to go with resentful and successful. I mean, maybe it is that simple. Like, maybe Olivia, let's bring in our storylines. I don't know where I put them. There we go. Okay, so JM, we're going to add a storyline. JM resents Olivia because she how do I express this? She basically swooped in and took something from JM. JM was cultivating a relationship that was going to help him. Swooped in and stole a contact that was going to help him launch his piloting career and used it to promote herself. Maybe first navigation commission? Getting foot in door. So that's the thing, like they had an opportunity to get their foot in the door. She took it at his expense. So that's what we got on there. Now, so then finally Tom's just like, I don't feel well. You guys got this? And, JM, Olivia is face beat red. She can't talk. And, JM responds, "Yeah, Captain." And Tom's just like, okay. And everybody can look at it, like his face is completely green. Everybody knows. But he's like, okay, and what he's probably going to do is he's probably going to go barf in the toilet for half an hour, whatever he's going to do. But he splits. So let's add Olivia. So as soon as Tom's out of the room, Olivia spins in her chair and she's like, "What the fuck was that?" And JM's like, "Look, Olivia, come on. Like, you know deep down there's a chance that this is probably going to work. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't cost us anything." So he's trying to play it rationally. And Olivia's getting the sense of like, I know it's not personal, but it seems a little personal. Olivia loses her temper at JM when he undermines her expertise with Tom, the captain. There, we got that going on now. Again, storyline starting to come together. Who knows what will happen with them. So there we go. So we've got that little moment. Tom ducks out. And, yeah. And maybe, in the hallways of the ship, does he encounter Doc Brown? Is he able to avoid her? 1 through 4, 50-50. 1 through 3, yes. 4 through 6, no. No. So finally, Doc Brown, maybe he's passing by and just, hears him retching into like his personal bunk's toilet or whatever. And she's like, "Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me." And then she just knocks on the door, and Tom's like, "Go away!" And she's like, "Nope, it's Doc Brown, medical. Open your door, get into sick bay." And he sort of drags himself there, and she's like, "Look, this happens to everybody at some point. I know you're new to this. Do not mess around with it. There could be serious side effects. Get help. Don't feel this way. You're the captain. We need you back on your feet as fast as possible." So that's the first random encounter. Let's do a second random encounter just because I figure like every month or so, whatever it is, I'll pop one out. So another random encounter. And I think we need encounter tables, space encounters. Let's draw another result. Interesting. Okay, so what we've got is a distress call, which is similar to what we got before. Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the bridge. So maybe we're, like the first 30 days, mostly uneventful, ship sort of humming along. You have that one, maybe there's other encounters, but they're not significant enough to warrant getting into. But we get to the, back half of the journey. And let's say that the signal's getting a little bit clearer and we're starting to get some understanding of what might have happened to this ship. We've got a ship malfunction. Let's see. Hyperspace sleep chamber. Skill required flooding. Skill required flooding. I don't think that's a skill. Let me look that up in the book real quick. Random encounters. So now we know what's wrong with Lady Luck. Hypersleep chamber problems. They dropped out of hypersleep and something happened. You know what? I'm going to add a tracking drama points. The scene resolution is successful. Well, we haven't done a scene resolution. We haven't done combat. We haven't done a task. But I'm going to add a drama point just because there was a fight. So it's not that. It's the mission log, I think. Sort of tracking drama points. So let's got that going. So now it is technically possible for the drama stuff to absolutely explode. Because you have to roll 2d6 and you have to get above a 14. So if you roll, I guess with a 12, you could have, I guess it was possible 4 with 2. But anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to just want to find, what I think it is? I think what it is, it's under, you would think the random encounters are not actually under these tables. It's actually because I think each one has its own set of encounter tables. So, and we rolled we rolled a 5, which is sort of a weird. One, two, three, mechanical, I don't know why it says flooding. I must have copy and pasted the wrong thing. Mechanical and medical, so let's change that real quick. That makes more sense. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to need a mechanical and medical. try and repair it. For some reason on the Lady Luck, they did not. So that's important to remember. You know, I shouldn't put it over there. I was going to say I have that like right over my OBS windows, and that could be a disaster waiting to happen. Okay. But as we're going out there, we now get a second distress signal. Yeah, we get a second distress signal. And it sort of jams us up a little bit. Because what do? We've got the mission. That's a distress signal. And then we got a second distress signal. And let's say this one comes through loud and clear. It's another small ship. We're going to make it another small ship. We're not going to make it like a massive 1,500 person something. It's a small ship. And let's see what's wrong with them. Okay, so we've got a ship malfunction. I'm not doing another hypersleep. Okay, so they have flooding. Okay, so something on board their ship is flooding. And let's make it like a gas. It's not... It's not like literal water. And let's get a bum. I want to get a ship name. And we're going to make this a mining ship. Let's call it that. In my mind, a mining ship might be big, but there might not be a ton of people on board. Okay, we got the West Alliance. Okay, so the West Alliance is out there requesting, immediate help. Their air supply is messed up because some gas aboard the ship has flooded a lot of their atmosphere, and maybe their scrubbers couldn't keep up, or maybe it was corrosive to their scrubbers, so they're losing, breathable air. And let's say that they're all trapped in... Maybe they're all sort of trapped in one section. And maybe this is the trick. So they're trapped in a section, they can't get to hyperspace they dropped out of hyperspace because of the flooding. And because of all this, they can't get back into hyperspace, come out the other side, and hope to coast to a dock or get into a more populated area of space for a rescue. So it's the DSM West Alliance requesting immediate help. We have lost oxygen, breathing supplies, and we are rapidly running out of atmo inside the ship. Please, any response to anyone out there? And let's get a sensor roll. Somebody's sensors. I think it's Dell. Sensor operator, he's going to give a sensor roll. Make it into electronics. He succeeds beautifully. He's like, yes, look, Captain Tom, we've, it's a xenon leak coming from, whatever. And yes, it's rapidly filling up the ship. I estimate we have enough time to get to them. It'll probably take us a number of days, 3 days to get there. We can do it. They do have enough oxygen, enough breathable atmosphere in the ship to last that long. And Captain Tom's like, okay. And then he checks in, with JM. He's like, okay, how are we looking for our burns? And he's like, well, Captain, we've got, they've used 12 burns to get out here. And he's like, look, we can spend some burns to adjust. Let's see how many burns it would take. 1d4 burns. It's like, okay, so it's going to put us at 2 burns. So it's possible we'll have just enough to make it once we... Because it's going to take basically 4 to get to the hyperspace point and 4 to decelerate once you're there, and then it takes a couple to dock into orbit. So he's like, look, we can just make it if nothing else goes wrong. And Tom's like, okay. And then he's like, then Captain Tom checks in with Del. He's like, Del, like, reach out to both ships, but start with our mission, the Lady Luck. See if you can get anybody on the horn there. And see if there's anyone that can inform us, like, can we spare the time to do this? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he hops on comms. Cool. And he's able to establish a link. And let's see if there's anybody there. 1 through 3, yes. 6, no. No response. He's like, okay, we didn't get any response from the ship. That could mean anything, but it could mean that they're in a more perilous position. It also could mean it's too late. And going back to the West Alliance, he's like, I see, 2 people still, getting, strong life readings. I'm not getting the same. I'm not getting exactly the same from Lady Luck. It might mean they're still there, but I'm getting definite, clear, strong life signals from the West Alliance, probably because it's closer. And so Tom, being Tom, unsure of his command, he starts to have everybody on the bridge. And he's like, thoughts. And he's making like a mistaken command where he's treating it a little bit like a democracy when he needs to make the call at some point. And so Doc Brown's like, look, we've got people there that need help. And I think, we have to help. We've got to, not to put it in so many terms, but it's a little bit more of a sure thing. Like, there are definitely people there that are definitely still savable, and we need to save them. To me, it's clear. It's the lesser of 2 evils. We know there are life signs, strong life signs. We've got to, and they're closer. We got to get them, help them. May is like, look, I know what the rules are. And as far as we know, these people are going to be fine, but they're not, Leland Okuda. I think that's the name of the, key corporations. It is, how do I not have them? Transtein Cyber Systems, they make the conglomerates, that's why. Leyland Okuda, yeah. So, like, look, they're not Leyland Okuda. Probably they're fine. Probably they're not a security risk, but are they pirates that took over this West Alliance mining ship? We don't know anything about them. We just know that they're in trouble, and it's potentially jeopardizing the mission if we do this. And then Tom says, okay, JM, what do you think? And JM's like, look, I'm all for saving these people, but I gotta tell you, I don't like cutting our fuel supply that close to the wire. There's not a lot of, and he says, Olivia, can you check the nav mats? And she's like, like, almost like, okay, she's still a little pissed from earlier. You're not my boss kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, no, there's not a lot of, giants out there between here and our destination to refuel with a scoop if we need to. And so then reluctantly, she's like, yeah, so JM's right. It's going to take us right to the wire on fuel, and that could jeopardize the whole mission. So then he's like, so are you saying you're with JM against? And she has to, like, reluctantly, like, just on paper, yeah. So that means we've got 3 against and 1 for. And Tom's like, okay, Adea, what do you think? And she knows what the right thing to do is. She knows that they should help the people close by. But she also knows that anytime you go off script, you introduce the potential for catastrophe. Something could go wrong. And again, she's flashing back to that dead-in-the-water shuttle. Floating. No life signs on board. No response. And, just the idea that, going out of their way could make that a little bit more possible starts to panic her. But she regains a little composure and she shifts it to, I think JM's got a point with the fuel. So she's not admitting to what her actual motivation is for siding with no. But she sides with no regardless. So Tom's sitting there and he's like, okay, so we've got 4 against 1 for. And he's like, Dell, he's like, well, the protocol's like, okay, got it. So we'll call you 4. So we got 4 against 2 for. And Tom's looking at him. He's like, well. And as he's sitting there thinking, he's probably spending a little bit too much time on it. He realizes that people are probably looking at him like, does this guy even know what he's doing? They might not be thinking that at all, but that's how Tom perceives the weight of everyone's stares. And as he's doing that, all of a sudden the message cuts back in from the West Alliance, like, please, any help whatsoever? And he's like, Noctua, I'm picking you up on our sensors. We're in a real tough spot here, Noctua. If there's any aid you could lend, we really appreciate it. I'm not sure how much time we've got left. And so Tom, it's almost, not quite the last person to talk to him is where he goes with his decision, but it sort of tips the scale against the majority. And he sort of nods his head and says, okay, let's go help them out. JM, set a course for the DSM, Deep Space Miner, West Alliance. Dell, get on the horn with them, tell them we're on our way. We'll get there in a couple of days. And I think 3 days? Yeah, who knows? About 3 days. We'll say 3 days. And we'll pick them up. We'll do what we can. And Dell gets back on the comms and starts relaying that message. And Adea kind of closes her eyes for a minute and tries to just find a little bit of zen. JM kind of like, okay. He's like, Olivia, if you want to set a new course, if you're all right with that. Olivia takes that as a little condescending, but maybe she's overreacting. She's not sure. And she starts punching in a new course. Let's do a quick pilot check. I'm also going to do a navigation check. So the pilot check's fine. With an effect of 4. So that's pretty good. Let's see what Olivia's navigation check is. I imagine it would be... I don't know, is it computer? Electronics? Doesn't really matter. Okay. So she punches in coordinates and she's distracted, so she's not quite doing it correctly. And so she sends the path over and JM, looks over his shoulders and sees that everybody's still in the room. And he's remembering what happened last time. This exact moment happened between them when Tom was in the room and he undermined her. He sort of appreciates what he might have done in that stance. And he looks over and he's like, Olivia. She's like, what? And he's like, check that approach vector. Almost like under his breath, trying to make sure nobody else heard. And she's like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, no, thank you. So she rechecks so basically what I'm doing is JM's effect of 4 gives you sort of like something awesome happens, something extra happens. The extra is that he catches Olivia's mistake that would have cost them, let's see how many burns. Would have cost them 2 burns, which now, like, we're no longer right on the brink. Like, we might have been in a deficit. And so Olivia's just like, oh my God, like, okay. And JM's like, okay. And so Olivia appreciates it a little more, like his expertise. He appreciates that he was undermining her last time a bit. And they're both, and he's starting to realize some things are a little bit too important to bring the weight of a grudge into it. Now, the question is, did anybody hear this? On a 5 or 6, yes. 4, no. Okay, so they got away with it. Like, nobody caught on that they were having this because they're all having their discussion. They're hearing the comms coming through. You know, Crew of the West Alliance, you know, he's like, oh, thank God, you know, like, you know, you can't imagine how much we could use your help, that kind of stuff. And they punch in a course for the other ship. And we'll fade to black there. When we come back, we'll sort of figure out, we'll say it takes a couple extra burns or whatever to figure out. And we'll worry about that last time. We already calculated in the 4 burns that we're going to need to slow down from the hypersleep. So maybe we take a couple extra to ramp up speed, slow down speed, but maybe it'll add some time to the trip, not just the time it'll take to mount a potential rescue. So yeah, there we go. Another session of Hostile solo in the books. I think a little bit more happened this time. I feel bad. There was I can't access it right now. Somebody on the YouTube comments, you know, we always love feedback, and he said, like, it's taken a long time for things to happen. I'm like, you know, you're not wrong. I can't always promise I'll fix that, but I don't need to get so into the weeds. I definitely was trying to be a little bit more mindful of that. So I really appreciate that comment. I'm sorry that I don't have the username up right at the second. I should have jotted it down before I started. I didn't think to, but yeah, another session of solo in the books. I think at the time of this recording, it's getting into the Christmas season. My hope is that Matt and I can get a couple things recorded, but you know, the holidays, things start ramping up. So we'll see how it goes. So I imagine there will be some more Hostile solo in the future sooner rather than later. But we'll have to see. Because what I'd love to get back to is the continuing Blade Runner first case file that we started, Matt and I, last time, and really looking forward to that as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you've already found our channel. Thank you very much for checking this out. Like and subscribe if this is your thing. If you prefer audio versions of this podcast, just search for MacLeod Trivia Night wherever you get those. We should show up. Jump into our Discord if you want to chat about RPGs, CRPGs. There's some CRPGs going on, Lord of the Rings and little Dark Souls 3 at the moment. But regardless, hope you're doing well. I hope as we're entering into our holiday season, whatever you might celebrate, that you're doing all right and that it's a good one for you. But we'll be back with plenty more before the actual holidays kick in, and we'll see you then. So thanks again. Take care. The in-session music was provided by Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find the Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music. That's all one word.